Okay, here's my progress so far. I've got all 4 of my batteries all firmly tied down now. They're not going anywhere, especially these 2 in the middle. There's really nowhere for them to go anyway. But I want to make sure that they're braced against vibration and everything. So that part's done. And now I'm going to start connecting. Let me give you a rundown here. This is my negative bus. All the wires, negative wires that go out to the various components are going to connect here. This is the shunt, and that's going to be used for measuring the battery current and voltage. And then these are my master terminals. So I'm going to now start by wiring the negative terminals on the batteries, and I'm going to make sure that this is safe, because I don't want to be a newspaper headline. So I'll show you what I'm going to do here. Notice I already have all the negative terminals taped up on these batteries. That way, if I accidentally touched a piece of metal to both battery terminals, I wasn't going to get a spark. So that was my first safety feature. I've maintained that all the way till putting the batteries in here, and I'm going to keep those in place until I'm ready to start wiring the positive terminals. So for now, my job's pretty safe. Okay, I've got the negative battery cables all hooked up to my common negative terminal, and then I went ahead and taped over all of the individual negative cables, and then I'm going to tape over that. I put electrical tape and duct tape on top of that. I'm not taking any chances. And then when I'm working with the positive cables, I'm not going to have to worry about shorting anything out, because everything will be covered. And there it is. I pretty much got everything wired in this compartment. Didn't have a lot of space to work with, but it came out after all. So let me go over these components here. There's the negative bus. So all the negatives from all of the other components, including the ground to frame wire, are going to connect to that bus. And then that connects to the shunt, which allows me to measure the current coming in and out of the battery. And there's my positive and negative battery terminals, and they are in turn connected to each of the respective battery terminals by a wire of the same size. Comes out, and it comes around this longer wire and attaches here to this fuse holder. I have not yet put the fuse in yet, but I will soon. And then it goes to the master switch. And the master switch is in the off position right now, so when I put the fuse in, everything will still be off. This wire here is the wire to the existing circuitry in the RV, which is all the 12-volt circuits. And so I can turn it to position 1, and I'll have everything just like it was before I took out the old batteries, except I'll have a much bigger battery bank. And then on the bottom here, that wire goes to the positive bus, which you can't see here. I had to locate that underneath, and it's going to be attached to the frame of the vehicle. And so all of the positive wires from all of the components will be attached to the positive bus. And so that's going to be position 2 on the master switch. And then if I want to have everything all at once, I can turn it on to positions 1 and 2. The reason for this is position 2 is going to be have the inverter on it. And so when I'm plugged into shore power, I can disable that. This is not the best long-term solution, but it will be a good short-term solution, because you do not want to have your inverter running when you're on shore power. And I may explain that later. But just be sure that that's something you do not want to happen. And here's a component I haven't hooked up yet. That's the circuit breaker for my inverter. And since I'm not really focusing on the inverter right now, I'm going to work on that later.